Hmm.
But the one, like the really old school one I always refer to is an American copywriter named John Caples.
Hmm.
And if you've seen any of the old like 1920s, like any kind of Western media like that, it's always the would your husband marry you again today? Or they all laughed when they found out I couldn't play the piano. Who's laughing now? Those kinds of
Right.
headlines. That's John Caples. And so he actually has some very fascinating psychology behind his work, though.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Yollab Central. Today, I have with me Rachel. So, Rachel, would you like to tell our audience why they should be excited about this conversation today?
They should be excited because we're going to talk about digital marketing as well as how I fell completely backwards into copywriting in a journey that took me all around the world.
Okay, so I know where to start because copywriting and digital marketing go sort of hand in hand. So, let's go backwards in time and start from the start itself, probably where copywriting started for you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what it was until the day before I started doing it.
Mhm.
I had trained to become a journalist, but I graduated into the 2008 recession, and of course, no one was hiring journalists.
Yeah.
So the only job I could get was unpacking boxes in a warehouse for a cheap clothing brand, and I didn't want to do that with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
So in my 22-year-old brain, I was like, okay, what's the furthest place away from Tennessee, which is where I was? And the answer was Hong Kong. So I bought a plane ticket and I moved to Hong Kong.
All right. So you found out that you had a knack for copywriting, is it? Or just somebody was looking for an English writer? Was it like that?
Well, I got there and I had to make rent and I was like Googling like how to make money online and there was this job called copywriting that popped up and it was a freelance gig and I was sure it was a scam,
Mhm.
but I ended up taking it anyway and it turns out it wasn't a scam and they paid me like $3 and I loved it. So I decided to make a business out of it.
Okay. So can you just explain for starters? Because I don't know a lot about copywriting and I don't know if the audience knows as well. So you just explain how copywriting is different from regular writing.
So regular writing is just to communicate, whereas copywriting is to persuade. So the main point is that you want somebody to read the copy and then do something, whether it's
Mhm.
make a different decision or buy something from you or just think about something differently.
Okay, so I guess that is where digital marketing comes into play here
Yeah.
because when you're doing digital marketing, you want somebody to take that decision in your favor, persuade them, or just lure them into your scheme of things that you want to sell, right? So,
Yeah.
how is this journey going right now for you?
It's actually great. I think I've been doing this for 17 years now, and I often say that I've been through about five internet apocalypses, and
Uh-huh.
we're currently in one now because everyone about every 4 years is like, "Oh, it's done. Wrap it up. You can't make money on the internet anymore. Go home." And I'm like, I'm doing fine. Like everything is different and
Yeah.
things are changing, but it's fine.
Okay, so for the people who are freaking out, since we are talking about the current internet apocalypse called AI, so for the people freaking out, why are you not freaking out, and what's keeping you stable right now?
I think the first thing is just I've seen this so many times before, right? It's always something and it's always something new and then everything settles out. And these types of moments they're good filters, but it's not the end of the world. So like for
Okay.
instance with AI specifically, I'm seeing that AI is being or is a threat to a lot of people who are like kind of good at their jobs, but not very good at their jobs.
Okay.
And so they're having to either step up or go do something else. And so
Right.
what I would tell people is just to think about, there's nothing inherently wrong about what's happening, but the entire job of being an entrepreneur is solving problems. And this is just
That's
another
right.
problem to solve.
Mm-hmm. So, how are you looking at this problem that other people are not able to look at? Because there's a lot of noise going out there that, yeah, AI will take our jobs. And regular copywriters are just like, okay, fine, ChatGPT can write better than me. Perplexity is writing, Claude is writing, everybody is writing. But it's just like, am I at the same level, or is it like, should I be leveraging that as a tool to make myself better? So, what is your perspective?
I think that's such a great question. The way I look at it is ChatGPT makes a really good marketing intern. And
Uh-huh.
if you're used to managing an intern in another capacity, like that's exactly how I treat it, right? Because I have
Right.
some clients who specifically request that I use it, and I'm like, that's fine. I've managed a human intern. I'll manage your robot intern.
Yeah.
But it comes to you, it's really well intentioned and excited, and
Mhm.
it's kind of terrible at what it does, but you can make it better with feedback.
Yeah. So just want to understand, right, about with Chat GPT and all these AI tools. Okay, in the business of copywriting, how have you included these tools into your business?
I'll use them occasionally as thought partners. Very occasionally, I'll have them do a first draft of something. But
Hmm.
honestly, I just find that I'm actually faster just for having done it for so long. So
Okay.
it actually takes me longer if I feed it through the robot and then have to work with it. But I've seen people do really incredible things,
Hmm.
getting them to do, especially like feeding, if they feed all of their information into it and then make a chatbot for their customers to be able to speak to, or getting them to do again first drafts for their copy. I think there's some really fascinating possibilities there.
Okay. Now, in the world of digital marketing that we know regularly, right? Copywriting has been crucial because it's not just the visible art form, art or the video that is there, right? A lot happens with the writing itself. So, how have you gone through this? I just wanted to know.
So, how do you mean, like how have I sort of developed in this, or I want to
Yeah,
make sure I'm
yeah.
understanding you? Yeah.
Because at some point it was just text, and then in between
Ah,
came
I see.
photographs, and then now it's everything is video,
Yeah.
right? Everybody wants to be on video.
Oh, it frustrates me so much. I'm so not a video person. I'm like, fine, we'll do the video. But the way that I've developed in it is just, I think like anybody else, the first time it changed from text to text and pictures, I was like, oh, really? Do we have to? But then I realized it's all the same thing. It all plays together to create the same
Yeah.
end message. And so now I think like I try to think really creatively about how I can combine these different like methods. So like a friend of mine actually is running a marketing campaign right now, and it's
Okay.
an email marketing campaign, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also a combination murder mystery scavenger hunt. And I'm like,
Okay.
that's so smart. Just like seeing the different ways you can bring different things in. That's what I'm
Right.
really focusing on now.
Okay. So, okay. When copywriting just started out, right? The internet was probably just, I don't know, but should I say that copywriting just obviously it did not start with the internet, right? There were copywriters doing copies for newspapers and everything.
Yeah.
So did you ever get references from there as to how you can up your game, learning from those and putting it on the internet?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've read so many books. Somebody actually asked me in another interview who my mentors were, and I was like, honestly, I just went to the library and I read a lot of
Uh,
books, and then I sort of figured this stuff out.
mhm,
But the one, like the really old school one I always refer to is an American copywriter named John Caples.
mhm.
And if you've seen any of the old like 1920s, like any kind of Western media like that, it's always the like would your husband marry you again today? Or they all laughed when they found out I couldn't play the piano. Who's laughing now? Those kinds of
Right.
headlines. That's John Caples. And so he actually has some very fascinating psychology behind his work, though.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about copywriting in the traditional sense, and because the first thing that comes to mind is a newspaper, right? And these
Yeah.
are exactly what you mentioned is basically what comes to mind when you're reading those small snippet ads that come in the classified section, and that
Yeah.
they basically write like this to attract our attention because in that small space, it's the text that stands out.
Yeah.
So, from your experience, where is this industry headed currently with all the noise about AI?
So I think that we're seeing a pretty stark divergence. I think some people are really, really doubling down on the automation, trying to make the internet their ATM where they just push a button and then money comes out. Okay, that sounds a bit boring to me, but all right.
Yeah,
And then I am seeing a lot of people actually swing back towards analog and one-to-one conversations. I mean, one of the reasons I love being on podcasts is getting to know people because we just form these relationships
yeah.
that last so much longer than the podcast. But same with that, one-to-one meetings, private Voxer chats, private signal loops. It's all getting very small these days.
Mhm. And the art of copywriting. Okay, now this is one interesting question, which I feel is interesting, is that would you call copywriting an art or a science, right? As everybody says that a lot of things are not just art, there's a lot of science going behind it. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
psychology is there behind copywriting, right? So would you call it an art or a science or a mix of both?
I think it has to be a mix of both. I mean, you can do very technically accomplished copywriting that doesn't have any soul to it at all and won't convert because like there's
Yeah.
no human in it.
Hmm.
And then we see the other people who do these like very artistic, beautiful things and it's like, well, I'm glad you put your journal on the internet. I don't know what you want me to do with this. So I
Yeah.
think you have to combine it.
Okay. So I was about to ask you something. Yeah. So for people, you've been in this industry for like 17 years. If somebody had to start copywriting, right? Is it like only journalists should be doing it, or like literature students, or something like? If somebody has a knack for writing, they can pick up a few skills, and then do it. So going out into the industry, just bare bones freelancing or something.
Yeah.
Where can people start? What are the resources that they should be looking at?
Ooh, I think everyone always thinks that when they started, it was like, oh, it was so hard, but now I'm like, oh, I don't know, it seems harder today. But I do think anybody who has a knack for words and who thinks, like, I suppose, let me rephrase that. Anybody who has a knack for words and anybody who can have a good sense of empathy to get in other people's heads can be a good copywriter. So the places I would start, I mean, there's always, the standard job boards, the content mills, Upwork, that kind of thing. But the very best advice I can give is to try and find an experienced copywriter who's been doing it for a really long time and
Mhm.
ask them, hey, do you have any work that you don't want? And can I learn from you? Because a
Right.
lot of them are looking for referral partners. I know I've often taken copywriters sort of like under my wing and trained them because
Mhm.
I want more people to have more options and I love seeing people grow up in their businesses. And so, as long as you're willing to show up and do the work, I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay. Now, what's something that you're currently excited about doing? Is it like a particular project or a particular type of market that you like to target? And why
Mhm.
specifically in the copywriting space?
I love working with founders that have impossible problems. So, like, they come
Okay.
to me and they've tried to solve all these different things and whatever it's just not working.
Hmm.
So one client I'm working with right now, they have been trying to launch a product for 3 years and they
Okay.
just couldn't get it off the ground. And so they came to me and I had it up in 6 weeks. And so I love coming in and being like, what's the weirdoism here? What's the block? How do I unstick this? And
Hmm.
then moving it forward.
But then again, calling it impossible, but then converting it in 6 weeks. What was the magic that you turned around? How can people learn from this, whatever you did right there?
So some of it is experience. Just,
Yeah.
I've done this before. Another thing is just coming in and being very willing to look at what the facts of the situation actually are, as opposed to how you think it should be. So the fact is, they thought they should have launched 3 years ago, but they didn't have the capacity for that. And then it was like, well, we should have the capacity, but you didn't.
Right.
So you have to work from the reality of the situation, and then you can actually figure out what the real problem is and move forward.
Okay. Now, I love the fact that you're keeping your answers so short because now I can ask you so many more questions.
Yeah.
So, right now, the next thing that I want to know about is the industry itself, right? Copywriting as an industry comes under a part of marketing, if I can call it, if not all of marketing being copywriting. So, from that perspective, when you go from copywriting and scale up, look at the whole realm of marketing,
Mm.
what are some things that you feel that, okay, the other parts like digital marketing can also pick up, regular marketing can also pick up from copywriting? Is it like
Mm.
script writers can also take some lessons,
Oh
something of
yeah.
that sort?
I think something copywriters do really well that everyone can benefit from is they have to get into other people's heads. And
Yeah.
so when you're creating some sort of copy, the way it becomes effective is when I can find that sentence that you think of in the back of your head when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I put that on the page and then it's like, oh, like done. So I
Right.
think that works, that applies to any other part of the industry because the
Yeah.
more that you can have empathy of whoever you're trying to sell to and market to, connect with,
Hmm.
that's what really connects with people these days. Because I mean, you can broadcast all day long, but all
Right.
that does is just put you in this like digital arms race with Coca-Cola because like they've got a bigger marketing spend than you.
That's right.
And I don't want to play that fight.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that thing that you mentioned, right? Getting into people's heads and popping up right when they don't want you to see it. They don't want
Yeah.
to see it, right? Because it's like sometimes it spooks people out because they're thinking of something and the phone shows them exactly that, and they're wondering that did my phone just listen to me and just show me
Yeah.
that thing? And it's probably the beauty of copywriting that you can actually come up with something like that. So when we get into marketing, right? Are there any specific lessons that you've learned that probably you want to share with everybody? And
Hmm.
let's talk about the top
Yeah,
three.
let me think about my top three. I think the first one is that you have to track your metrics in some kind of way, which
Mhm.
everyone always hates that answer because they're like metrics. Bleh. And they think about, like I don't want to look at a bunch of numbers that make me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
But what I would reframe for
Uh-huh.
metrics is you just have to see what's happening, right? Because you have to
Mhm.
know what's going on in your business, and you have to see what's working and what's not. So I
Yeah.
say look at your metrics weekly if you can. That's what I recommend. And then make decisions quarterly once you have enough of a data set to be like, okay, I can kind of start to see the trends. I can
Yeah.
figure that out.
Hmm.
I think the second marketing lesson I would say is focus on the basics. People always want to find the new shiny thing. They want to
Yeah.
optimize the spreadsheet. They want to do whatever. But it's like, no, like, just do you know how to write a good headline? Just go and do that for a really long time. And
Okay.
then that will elevate everything. So it's
Mm.
the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think finally, what would my third marketing lesson be?
Hmm.
I think, yeah, actually, I think it would just be to cultivate humility.
Oh,
Because yeah, I know it's kind of a weird one, but when you go into it,
yeah.
it can be tempting to be like, I can get into anyone's mind and I can do whatever.
Yeah.
But I see so many people make mistakes with their client avatars, or like they don't want to speak to their clients because like then they might realize they're not marketing to the right person.
Hmm.
And you just have to go in and be willing to be wrong over and over again.
Hmm. Okay. Now, since we've gone into client avatars, social media, digital marketing, so just
Yeah.
want to understand, okay, when we talk about copies can be about a regular organic daily post and it can be about an ad. So,
Yeah.
uh, should people be thinking about these organic posts and digital performance marketing ads differently, or should there be some common ground in between?
It has to be. It has to be consistent. It has to be common ground. Something
Mhm.
I say, which again makes people really unhappy, is all copy is sales copy. And I don't mean that in a like you should constantly be bashing people over the
Yeah.
head with stuff, but everything you're putting out as the face of your business has to be part of this conversation that eventually leads to some kind of ask.
Hmm.
And if someone gets all the way through the conversation and they get to your sales page and it sounds like you've had a personality transplant, then you've had a problem sometime like way down the road.
Okay. Now, I did not exactly understand what you mentioned in the last. So, if
Okay.
you could just elaborate that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so like when someone encounters you, they're going to read probably some organic content. They might see
yeah,
an ad from you. They're going to read your emails.
yeah.
Maybe they go through some sort of like onboarding something nurture campaign. And then they're going to get to a sales page eventually because you need to sell them something eventually.
Hmm.
So all of that needs to sound like it came from the same person. If they get to the
Uh-huh.
sales page and it sounds like somebody else totally different wrote it,
Hmm.
then like something has gone wrong back in the emails and the ad and the like that section of everything. So
Yeah.
people often look at their sales pages when they're not converting and they're like, "Oh, it must be a sales page problem." And I'm like, "It's probably an email problem. You need to look earlier in the process."
So, more like the funnel has to be consistent throughout when you're trying to communicate to the customer, right?
Yeah.
The same kind of language, the same kind of empathy, and the feeling and the vibe should be the same, right?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
any specific tips you have for this? Like, how should people be doing this on social media or whether when they're doing it in the digital realm?
I think you have to make sure that you actually have a clear brand voice to begin with. So I know sometimes people go on and they post like as themselves, but then they
Mhm.
sell as their business. And
Yeah.
that's a little like it just doesn't quite work. So you need to actually have like a brand voice. And if that is your voice, great. But usually it's going to be yours like slightly changed a little bit based on your
Yeah.
brand values or your business. So make sure you actually understand what that is, and then make sure everything sounds like that. You want somebody to be able
Okay.
to look at anything of yours, and
Hmm.
even if it doesn't have your name on it, they're like, I know exactly who that is.
Hmm. Yeah, but then for a lot of people, just uh, putting that brand voice out on paper is a task in itself, right? Not everybody
Yeah.
is able to elaborate on how the brand actually sounds like. Is it just them, or is it something that they think that the brand is supposed to value? So,
Yeah.
have you ever helped somebody doing this, and then what did it turn out to be? Like, was the person totally different from the brand that they had created, and probably something of that sort?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I've had so many clients come to me. Usually they think they've got a sales problem, but I talk to them and I'm like, you don't sound anything like your website.
Mhm.
Like you don't use those words, you don't
Yeah.
talk like that. I don't know who told you you should sound like that, but like that's
Yeah.
so obviously unnatural to you
Hmm.
that we have to change this. And so because it leads to a lot of like cognitive dissonance among the readers and the listeners, and like you said, the vibes are just off, right? You're like, I
Yeah.
don't know what's wrong, but like you feel weird.
Yeah.
So you have to change it. You got to get all consistent.
Okay. So if you had to share one quick tip for brands going out on social media, right? Uh, what would that be? Just random question.
Mm. Yeah. I'm not sure. Okay. I have a long tip and I'll try and think of a quick tip while I'm saying the long tip. I
No,
think
let's
the
let's just
longer tip
have both of
is
them.
yeah. I think the longer tip is to actually create a brand voice document, especially if multiple people are going to be posting as the business. You
Yeah.
need to know like we use emojis, we don't use emojis, we swear in our content, we don't swear in our, whatever it is. This is how
Yeah.
we do our calls to action. So there needs to be some sort of like defined voice. But
Hmm.
as far as quick things, I think the best advice I can give is once you have those specific rules in place, just get really weird with it. Be as weird and like as human and as unique as you can, because that's what's going to stand out from all this broadcast content.
Okay. Now, there was this particular conversation that I was just seeing, reading through, right? It's like
Yeah.
nowadays, I know copywriters or just script writers, when it comes to ads and digital ads, right?
Mm.
They try to get as quirky as possible with the ad itself or the copy itself. Okay. Regardless of the fact that it may convert or not, it creates some brand value. But then there's also the
Mm.
fact that attention spans are short these days, right? People watch a
Yeah.
piece of content now and they'll forget it within the next 10 minutes, probably. Even though it is quirky, people love it,
Yeah.
it's humorous. So, in this gamut of, I don't know, attention deficiency, how are you keeping up and how are you helping brands uh, have people remember them for a long time?
This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So, people try to get cute, right? And the first
Yeah,
thing I always tell them is it has to be clear before it can be cute.
right.
Because, like, as you say, we're absolutely inundated with so
Yeah,
many things where it's just like, look at this cute thing, look at this fun thing.
yeah,
So the reason that works is actually because of it's a neuroscience thing, right? The way our brains developed, they developed to look for things that are new or interesting or
yeah.
novel because like way back when maybe that would have killed you, right?
Hmm.
So when we have those moments, we actually feel a tension inside of us, even if it's very subtle. So there's like in these old cartoons in Bugs Bunny, right? They'll show him playing the piano and he does the scale and he goes da 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 da, and everyone's like, "Oh, like where's that last note?" And
Yeah.
so it's that tension that you're feeling right now before you get the da.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the payoff when they click through, right? But as you pointed out, that's usually a really quick, it dissipates quickly. It doesn't stick
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
The way that you make it stick around is you follow up with something that's really empathetic. So,
Yeah.
for instance, one of the best headlines I ever saw, and I wish I wrote it, it was on a billboard for an attorney. And the
Mhm.
headline said, "It can't hurt to call." And I was like, oh, that's so smart because
Yeah.
that's totally what you say right before you call them. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
mean, like, it can't hurt to call.
Right.
So if you can bring something in like that,
Yeah.
then they have the satisfaction of having that loop closed and having the like, oh, I got my novelty fix.
Yeah.
And oh, wait, this person like gets me.
Mm.
Like I see them. And that's incredibly powerful for long-lasting copywriting.
Okay. Now, before we close, any specific favorite project of yours that you loved writing, working on in the past few years?
Mhm.
I don't know if I can ask in the past 17
Yeah.
years, but anything specific that you loved working on?
So I have one right now. It's actually about to launch. It's a brand called Live Your North, and it's a merch brand for an org development company, which sounds really weird, but for them, it's just perfect because they're totally values based, and these are all hoodies that let people wear their values literally on their sleeves.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I just love this conversation. Lots of discussion that we had, social media, digital media, copywriting, and I don't know what not. We discussed a lot. So thank you so much for joining in. Before we close, where can people get in touch with you? How can they know more about you?
Yeah, you can find me at boltfromthebluecopywriting.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, or you can email me at hello@boltfromthebluecopywriting.com, and I will email you back.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining in. To the audience who's been watching and listening intently, uh, do leave a like if you liked what we talked about. The comment section is open for questions, suggestions, perspectives, and anything else you want to add. And don't forget to subscribe before you close. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much.